So welcome guys. Thanks for joining us for the 31st edition of BNA Talks organized by Vision India Foundation. The topic of today's talk is Entrepreneurial India, and we've got Dr. Harish Hande with us. Dr. Harish Hande is an Indian social entrepreneur and a Magsaysay awardee. After graduating from IIT Kharagpur, he did his PhD from the University of Massachusetts. Apart from that, he is also co-founder at SELCO. SELCO is responsible for taking technology to the rural India and the underserved people for nearly 2 decades now. He was recently cited by the India Today Group as one of the 50 pioneers of change in India. We would like to open the talk, and I'd like to ask you this very basic question, sir. In the current time, sustainability and social entrepreneurship have become the buzzwords. Some people claim that the meaning has become diluted. So how would you like to explain the real meaning to the audience today?
Right, thanks. It's a little unfortunate because the way we define social entrepreneurship is, I also don't like the word sometimes social entrepreneurship. I believe that it has to be entrepreneurship, but it should be anti-social. Why should we be bracketed as social entrepreneurs? That because whatever you do today in terms of entrepreneurship, society is part of it. We cannot just say that business is business and that's personal. I think society is part of it. For us, it's not about sustainability. Does not come into what you actually sell. Oh, it's a solar product. No, it's about the value that you add to anybody else in anybody else's life when you sell or install or implement. It's end users. It's the technicians. It's your mid management. It's your board. It's your stakeholders. Your partners. As long as you're saying that you're adding value to the whole ecosystem, that's when the actual business flourishes. And that's what is sustainability. Today what happens is, unfortunately, because of so-called greed, only certain parts of an ecosystem is taken advantage of, like whether it's a financial greed or. But what happens in that case, you're sacrificing other parts of it, the social, the environment. And for us, sustainability is the sum of whole. When you want to do an entrepreneurship, you need to build it, and that's the classic combination between sustainability and so-called social entrepreneurship. I still don't like the word, but it's entrepreneurship in the real form is that one. And unnecessary people have bracketed it as social entrepreneurship.
All right, sir. Thanks for that. So, what was that moment in your life that inspired you to take the unconventional path?
Yeah, I don't know whether it's an unconventional path. I somehow believe this is the conventional path that should be taken. If you have to look at society, if you have to look at the real development, the ecosystem, and how do you create any process that is inclusive, this is quite natural. I don't see any other way of doing it. And so, if you look at what is the moment, I think it's some of the travels that I did in the earlier part in the 90s, Dominican Republic, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, for example. These are places where you look at humans have been unnecessarily divided from a country perspective, and problems are problems. And many a time you can actually create solutions that can be replicated elsewhere and to create an inclusive growth. I think some of the travels were very critical for me in the early stage of life to form the thinking process.
So when you look at the current generation, right, engineers, MBAs, people from the privileged class to get the best of education, right, what would your message be for them when it comes to aligning their careers? And where do you feel? How do you feel they think differently from how you thought when you were an engineer?
See, one, I think younger generation is the present set of younger generation is thinking much better than our generation. Okay. They might not be having. See, I also believe that our generation also has not created much of mentors for this present generation. But with that in mind, what I would like to also tell, what the advantage I had, what the younger generation does not have, that is the internet. During our time, internet was not there. So if you had to learn something, you had to go down to the field and learn it. Today, unfortunately, rather than actually going and looking at what the problem is and solution, you Google it. Or there's a sense of instant gratification. If I email, I need an email back immediately. You have to have the patience to build something. I think the advantage I would say is that if you today want to use internet as a tool or social media as a tool, don't don't use it as the centerpiece of what you want to do as if you want to get solutions. Go down, spend. I would encourage, whether it's an MBA or whether it's an engineer, anybody else, is engineering is just a sector that you are into. But when you come out, use engineering as a tool, but don't become an engineer. You have to know finance. You become an anthropologist rather than just being an engineer. Same thing I tell about the finance guys. Don't just get caught up in finance. When you graduate, you need to look at the needs. Finance is just a small part of it too. And to the youngsters, travel. Don't take your degree too seriously. It's just a piece of certificate. Go out and learn and see where else can you actually contribute.
Along those lines only, sir, we had a question from Astha, who's studying in Ashoka University currently. She wants to ask you till what extent did your education abroad help you in terms of networking, in terms of setting this up, and how much emphasis would you lay on your education and your qualifications?
I think on the emphasis I will lead on my qualifications is zero, absolutely zero. On in terms of experience and travel, 100%. And the type of people you meet and sit, and I was fortunate enough when I first started journey, I had a lot of experienced people who believed in sustainability. Though when I was in the mid-20s, early 20s, a lot of my colleagues and friends were above 60, but immense experience. And spending time with them, I think it's no degree would have given me that. No, well, anything that I learned was these guys and travel. And in many ways, I still am very telling you, the travels I had to unlearn what I learned in IIT. So I would say that it's yes, what you learn, fine, take it, but don't take it as the main fundamental thing. So telling Astha saying that learn while you are there for increasing your knowledge, not for getting that certificate.
Okay. And so you got Rohit from IIT Roorkee. He wants to ask you, while scaling up a social enterprise, people often face trade-offs between the social good and the financial sustainability. So what, according to you, need to be those anchors that keep the enterprise on the right path?
Anchors is type of people who work with you. I think the critical, everything what happens is many a time people forget that an organization is built of people. Even if you create a process, the processes have to be managed by people. So when people join you, that's the more critical part. It's like when you scale up, I think scale up only when you have the right set of people, and that's when you don't have to trade off values. Trade off values come only when you get the wrong set of people.
Alright, sir. Also, so about SELCO. SELCO has become a prime example of providing affordable, sustainable energy to the poor. So tell us a little bit about how SELCO is going about this, since a lot of people say that when it comes to solar and wind energy, it's very space intensive, and it may not be pragmatic to have that in a country like India, which is very densely populated. But SELCO has sort of dispelled that myth to a large extent. So can you share with us how have you been going about this?
See, the thing is that when you look at anything, I mean, solar is just a catalyst that we have used. And if you look at solar or small wind or pico hydro or biogas, for a country like India, where we have 1 billion people, 300 million people without energy access, 650 million plus live in the villages, decentralized energy makes more sense than running long wires. And everybody is at step 0 or 1. And like they're starting with 1 line, 2 line, 3 line, then go up, TV, everything else, right? The beauty of decentralized energy, whether it's solar or pico hydro, is modular. You don't need to design large plants today and say that, oh, this is what the people will use. I have 1 light thing, today I'll do. After some time I'll earn some money, I'll get 2 more lights, I'll get a sewing machine, get 2 more solar panels or a small wind. Actually, India is a prime example of the world how decentralized energy like solar or wind can be actually used, or biogas can be. And it's India, because of the densities also, it makes sense for decentralized energy. So it actually is a common sense solution for the people in the rural areas as well as in the slums of any part of our system. And more importantly, we can then be a powerful country with solutions that Africa and Latin America can then replicate. And that's where I think it makes sense for us to take that leadership.
So Sanya is one of our young Indian students who's studying in Singapore right now. She wants to ask you this question that there's a lot of emphasis being laid on creating jobs in the rural India. But SELCO has done another thing. It has focused on creating job creators in rural India. So kindly give us your comments on that. How important is that in today's world, or especially in a country like India, to emphasize on creating entrepreneurs in rural India rather than for rural India?
I'm glad Sanya actually picked this question up. And I'm not telling it just for the sake of telling it, because it's an incredible question that many people would not ask. Because everybody talks about skill training, of making people like, oh, let's train people to work somewhere else. But that a country like India cannot do that, or because then you create a bunch of employees. You don't create a bunch of employers. India is decentralized. India lives in its different parts of. There's diversity. There's different sets of entrepreneurship. There's culture, religion, everything else. We need to actually, if we have to sustain ourselves, if we make it truly an inclusive society, we have to build society where we give chance to everybody to become a potential employer. I'm not saying that everybody can become an employer, but if you don't, we are unnecessarily creating a homogeneous society where it becomes a monopoly of few institutions, and that's not good for a country like ours. And that's when we said, can we create interventions that leads to the poor becoming asset creators? They own assets and start running those assets. And that's the only way we believe a fundamental society can be built. And that's when we teach people, or no, we don't teach, but we create systems that allows people that I can also be an entrepreneur or an employer.
Along those lines, there is Prakhar from the Delhi School of Economics. He wants to ask you this question. Do you feel our current policies encourage entrepreneurship? What do you feel are the major challenges that the young entrepreneurs feel today? Face.
The current policies, I don't think so, is still conducive for the smaller entrepreneurs. And especially in a country like India, where most of the entrepreneurs will happen in English speaking era. And I think that is policies that today what happens, many of the audience would know or who gets the money, PowerPoint, Excel sheet, and Word. And many of the non-English speaking entrepreneurs don't have no choice. So we need to create appropriate mechanisms of reaching out finance to those non-English speaking entrepreneurs in this country. And that policy needs to be much more refined at that level. So we need to reach out to the ground level. And especially, that's where I see the role not only of the federal government, central, but a lot of the state governments need to play a stronger role in creating the options for the entrepreneurs in the rural areas. For entrepreneurs. Sorry.
So to follow up on that, Vishal, one of our colleagues working with Microsoft, he wants to ask you this question. When you started about doing fieldwork to work for the underserved communities, what was your approach towards interacting with them and finding out what they felt about the product that you were offering? I guess he wants to know about how did you gauge their perception of the product.
No, me and my colleagues spent quite a bit of time in the rural areas. We did not go with the product as if we were going to sell product day one. We did not want to be thinking that people to think that we came from the urban area and trying to sell it. We said we're not going to do anything until people don't feel that we are one of them. And that took 2 years, took 2.5 years. Till then we didn't know anything about solar. Till started people, see, the moment people call you sir, when you go to an auto rickshaw, if the auto rickshaw driver tells you sir, there's a big gap between him and you. Until he or she calls you by equal, whatever they call it, a village or here or urban area, you're not going to do a rickshaw. Then you become a seller and a buyer. Then you're an exploiter or an extractor. I think that's not what we wanted. Even whatever product came out because of the partnership. This is what people needed. I had a certain expertise, they had a certain expertise. We became partners in implementing that expertise. It was never a relationship between a buyer and a seller. But for that, I tell the youngsters, whatever enterprise you want to do, first immerse yourself into the segment that we are trying to target or so-called work with in the future, and spend not a weekend, not a month, but years at least to know what the segment is.
We got Shobit with here on the Hangout. So, Shobit, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello,
Harish.
Hi.
Yeah, so I have a question for you, Dr. Harish. So, about the union budget which was recently presented, I would want to know your views on that. Like, do you feel that the allocation to renewable energy was sufficient, or suggestions for the human power minister? What should they do?
Yeah. Yeah, I got the question. See, the thing is that the budget, I would say, is plus and minus. See, while there has been a lot of push for renewable energy in this budget, but it still actually focuses on the larger systems and larger solar systems and larger everything large. But the primary focus in our country has to be how do you mix development and environment, and that in that way decentralized energy, whether it's solar, small wind, pico hydro, biogas, all makes sense. And I think, and there are 40,000 banks in this country. We should create appropriate policies that piggybacks financing through these banks, financing both for rural entrepreneurs and financing for the end users. Create coursework through the ITIs, the root cities, the vocational schools in the rural areas, while you are creating a force where you create energy technicians, energy entrepreneurs. They go to the bank, take a loan. I think the policy should focus more on the vocational schools and the local rural banking systems to actually create an energy revolution, just like the same institutes created agricultural revolution in the early 70s, and that's why we are sustainable in food. But I think more focus should be given to the small and hopefully the next budget. But this budget was mostly on the large, and I think they should really push for the smaller one.
So I have just a follow-up question. So would you recommend also subsidies to spread renewable energy adoption? Like we know the European countries have given a lot of subsidy, like Germany, Spain. So would you suggest the same in India, or do you think it should be self-sustained on its own?
No, I would say subsidies in a different manner. I will give an example of the Google and the internet. The internet was the biggest subsidy that Google got, right? Google did not pay for the internet. The internet means the ecosystem. If the internet was not there, the Google would collapse. Same way, we should actually subsidize the ecosystem. Subsidize means, can we subsidize the training program of the bankers, that what technology they should finance. Subsidize the technician courses in all the ITIs. Okay. You can actually subsidize, saying that create an appropriate financing mechanisms where you incentivize the people when they are paying regularly, lower the interest rates. Don't go for capital subsidies, because why do people go for capital? Even if in certain places, even if you reduce the cost of the capital good, the other systems make it too expensive. So actually, if you soften the other costs, the capital good actually can sustain you for a longer time. Say, for example, the banks refuse to give loans to the underserved because they don't have a credit evaluation, or they don't want to give an entrepreneur a loan because he does not have a credit risk. Why don't you use the subsidy, put it in the bank as a guarantee against which the entrepreneur as well as the end user can take a loan. So you create that, subsidize the ecosystem, but not the capital good itself.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So we've also got Pallavi with us. She's a student at Tata Institute of Social Sciences currently. Pallavi, can you hear us?
Yes. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible. Where with the question?
Yes, sir. I'm studying Masters in Sustainable Development Practices at Terry University.
Right.
Sorry, it was not Tata Institute of Social Sciences. And my question is that so much good work is happening all over India in the form of social entrepreneurial ventures. But in a country like India, where population is a problem, how can these be scaled up to a level where these can reach the masses? where everybody can reap the benefits of such efforts. So how do we take it to the masses? How can these be scaled up?
See, there are two ways. I mean, that's where the young people, all of you will have to play a major role because the country is in your hands right now. See, but I think the scale up, I think we need to redefine the word scale up. See, rather than, see, today because of the whole venture capital world and the Bay Area and the IT, we believe that the scale up can happen as if we scale up one organization and make the organization big. Rather than using that word, can we talk about replication of processes? Okay, suppose SELCO has 20 processes, and we say that, okay, forget SELCO scaling up, can we take process number 1, 4 and 8 and do it in Manipur? Or even if you take a process, break it up into 10 steps. Think that I have this room, I have 10 processes, I will break each process into 10 steps, so I have now 100 steps. If I do, I use those 100 steps as Lego pieces or pieces of a puzzle. You take puzzle number 1, 4, 8, 5 and go to UP and plug it into a solution that is required. You are actually replicating a process. Today, unnecessarily, I mean, unfortunately, when we also read news about SELCO, we are not very happy about those news because it unnecessarily glorifies SELCO. What it should glorify is the concept. So when you, as a reader, read about it, yes, I can also do it. Rather than saying that, oh, SELCO is a great company. That defeats the purpose. So if management schools, engineering schools, schools like Terry University, all teach about processes and how do we replicate process. I mean, our greatest guru of process are the street vendors. The concept of street vendor has replicated across the country. You don't see one scaling up big time, it's replicated. I think we start using the word replication and customization of processes. And that will lead to the true scale up. What do you need? Impact that 100 million people have electricity. One SELCO will not do it, two SELCO will not do it. It's a khichdi of processes that will actually lead to 100 million people having solar or wind or biogas.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Pallavi. So that answer reminds me of a talk that I had witnessed with you. You had mentioned this line, my mentor is a street vendor, and then you went about telling the participants and the audience a story. So would you mind sharing that with us, because that really had a deep impression on me.
See, if anybody spends some time with a street vendor, if you travel with a street vendor, she takes money at around 10% a day, right? She takes 1,000 rupees in the morning, and the guy takes 10 rupees, 100 rupees out. That's 10%, 11% a day. Many of us would not do business that way. She buys vegetables according to which part of the country, which part of the city she needs to go to, like south, north, etc. Then she would go down, start selling vegetables, and 8 o'clock in the evening, she has to decide her pricing because she has no refrigerator at home. And after all that, she has enough money in the evening to actually pay back to the money lender, pay back hafta to the police, pay the rent to the cart, and she goes back and feeds to the 3 kids every day. Right? Now, how many of us have actually heard a street vendor going out of business? There are 2 crore street vendors in the world. How many of us actually have ever heard the street vendor going out of business? What is that? She has no MBA. She has no engineering. She does not do PowerPoint. How does she succeed? Right? She delivers vegetables at the doorstep at an affordable price. She's a classic social entrepreneur. What people call about social entrepreneur, right? I think we need to learn from them. And I typically, I shouldn't be doing this joke always, but I do that by saying that you've never heard about a street vendor going out of business, but you always hear about Kingfisher going out of business, right? Right, but Kingfisher has all the MBAs. So something that the people are doing at the grassroots level, which we need to learn from. And I think unnecessarily we take the hat and say we should teach them, rather than what we should learn from them.
Definitely. So we got Paras with us. Paras, can you hear us? Paras, you need to unmute yourself.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, Paras. Go ahead.
So how do you feel, how exactly can you market sustainability energy solutions? Because when you talk about solar energy, and especially when you want to market them to the people who need the most, like for instance, people living in the remote area, so somewhere they really can't afford energy. How exactly do you market that? And my introduction, that I'm a public policy student at National Law School, Bangalore, and I wish to know exactly in terms of market, because when we talk about markets, definitely we have to integrate it into our policy environment also. So I hope I can get an answer through market, and definitely we can have an enabling solution in terms of policy. Thank you.
Thanks for us. The issue is it's not about marketing. See, the thing is that what we do is look at what the need is. And need could be both in terms of technology. Why do people need, in a sense, okay, I need four hours of lighting so that my child can study, or I can do 4 hours of more income generating activity like swing machine and everything else. What is your existing expenditure on kerosene or candles? What is the loss of income? Then what happens is somebody's need is that instead of paying for kerosene and candles, if he or she can actually pay to the bank and take a solar system, and that's what you are actually adding value to somebody's household by helping them get an asset by taking a loan. So you are not marketing the product, but what you are telling is between creating a partnership with him or her is understanding the value that this particular intervention brings you. And you pay that certain delta amount for that intervention, and you and me share in that intervention, and that's where I profit. I'm sustainable. You are sustainable because, see, today you are having 10 rupees. I'm not interested in your existing 10 rupees. Because of the intervention we do, because of the quality of life or increase, your 10 rupees becomes 14 rupees. What I'm telling is that I will take 1 rupee and you keep 3 rupees. So you are sharing in an extra 4 rupees, we are sharing, and that's how I become sustainable and you become sustainable. So that's why you're not marketing a product, but you're trying to create a value for and the policy side, I think the policies have to be redefined in a way, what is that missing link? For example, if a certain person who is doing a sewing machine needs financing from the bank, we need a large scale policy that for such systems, the bank will finance at lower interest rates, which incentivize the people to have solar and also makes it affordable for people to have it. And many such policies can actually be worked out.
Thank you so much for that. For the next question, Ankit, do we have you with us? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So can you switch on the visual?
Yeah, I'm doing that. Just sorry. Hello, you can hear me? Yeah. My question was related to the development paradigm that is being redefined in the light of growth right now. So how can we create a balance between the growth and sustainability? How do you think India can shape its vision and stay on course with managing both growth and sustainability together going forward?
See, I see that depends on how do we define growth. Because if you look at the 250,000 households that we have done in SELCO over the last 20 years, if many of them was we are intervening at a level where they're saying that okay, they need 4 lights, they need a sewing machine, they need rice mills, they would need a silk weaving machine. We all provided using solar energy. You didn't need to actually build large either coal-fired plant or oil-fired plants to actually provide them with that. So, and have they sacrificed anything? No. Are they getting the same quality of life? Yes. Have they increased the incomes? Yes. Would they have done the same? Would they have done anything different had they got electricity from the grid? No. So I think that's the whole beauty of what we are trying to do today is I have not used a single word of environment and climate change. Purely with financial sustainability and social sustainability, you can intervene using sustainable energy in everybody's life in a way that uplifts the quality of life, increases development, so-called the paradigm, however we define development as, without actually sacrificing. I mean, giving you a simple example. Since these are these African slaves who were brought in by the Portuguese some 150 years ago, they're in central Karnataka. An average Siddhi family earns 1500 rupees. He or she spends approximately 140 rupees on kerosene and candles and approximately 40 rupees on phone charging because they go to somebody else's house and somebody else's, I mean, in other village, wherever there's electricity and charges. Take 200 rupees a month out of 1500 rupees on energy. Multiplied by 12, 2500. In 5 years, they spend 12,500 rupees on kerosene, candles, and mobile charging. A same solar system, which will last you for 20 years, costs around 9,000 rupees if financed by a bank. The barrier was not technology, the barrier was not affordability. Because instead of paying 200 rupees to the kerosene, they could have paid to the bank. The barrier was, would the bank finance the poor? Saying that, okay, they don't have any credit. So what we did was we actually placed a guarantee in the bank. And after 6 months, for these 32 families, after 6 months when we asked the bank how is the collection, they said the collection is very good. We said, if you knew this information 6 months ago, what would you have done? Then we would have only asked 20% guarantee. So we removed our 80% money out. But the best answer was from the cities who said, great, solar light is great. But once our solar loan is done, we will actually take a loan for a sewing machine. So what he or she meant that I have become financially inclusive. The beauty of decentralized energy is it actually pushes people 3 rungs up in the social ladder, which a normal grid would not. You have to again subsidize the education part, again subsidize the financial inclusion part. Here, with one intervention, you are actually able to push people up much higher than, and that's, we believe, is the true development, and that's what India can teach to the rest of the world. You don't need to sacrifice. That's the primary answer that we have got in 20 years.
That's something about community empowerment and the real growth, linking growth and sustainability together. That is very impressive. To follow up on that, sir, there is this notion that social enterprises, we've talked a lot about scaling up, but microfinance is something that has been very successful in a country like Bangladesh, but India hasn't been able to taste that sort of a success. And some people see that as one of the reasons why some small-scale social enterprises are not able to launch themselves. What do you think is the reason behind the failure of microfinance, if I may so that, in a country like ours, and what remedies would you suggest?
I think there's a difference between microfinance in Bangladesh and microfinance in India. Okay, see, here what has happened is that we made microfinance as a center thing, as if money is going to help people. And assuming that money is going to, that delta amount of money, everybody can actually come out of poverty. Like a simple question, like somebody takes a sewing machine loan. Instead of 2 shirts a day, she starts doing 8 shirts a day. Takes a loan for it, right? But what happens is, has anybody asked that question? She had initially a market for 2 shirts. Where is she going to sell the extra 6 shirts? If she does not sell the 6 shirts, the sewing machine is a dead. Who creates the market linkage? Microfinance help you buy the sewing machine, not to sell you. So the ecosystem needs to be there. It's just like the internet. Ecosystem has to be there. There has to be a market for her to sell. There has to be raw material for her to buy. Microfinance is one part of the equation, not the equation itself. The problem is we all treated that as the primary source. That was just a tool. It's just like today we say the Google is going to solve your problem. Google is just a tool. In Bangladesh, see, the thing is that in Bangladesh, microfinance itself has not succeeded. It's the huge amounts of grants actually went into creating the ecosystem, which nobody actually writes about. If you look at the average grant, I don't remember the numbers, but in the last 10-15 years, more than $500 million of grant has gone into creating the ecosystem. Microfinance has just piggybacked. Other success is Seva Bank in Ahmedabad. But Seva Bank finances the poor, whether it's the Sathis, but it has also linked to Seva Rural, Seva Health, Seva Childcare, Trade Facilitation Center. One said about sewing machine, they actually make sure that the lady is connected to the outside world. That's why they have called the Seva Trade Facilitation Center. Okay. Then they have a Seva Childcare. When women come and work in the central production centers, they have a Seva Childcare. So the whole ecosystem that got built, and Seva Bank is one part of the equation. So microfinance, it should be one part of the equation, not the solution itself. And that became the mistake that what we did in Bangladesh. Right?
A lot of people are citing India as the next entrepreneurial nation. So, based on that question, the difference between the current notion of entrepreneurship and how it is a little different from, I'd like to call it social entrepreneurship, if I may. So startups are getting, so this is from Alka from LSR. Startups are getting a lot of attention in India today, especially the investments and valuations. So how do you see a similar boom for ventures in the social area, which are not based as profit at the center? So how can the resources, both human and the capital, be directed into this sector? How can it be seen as a more opportunity, as a more luring option for the youth?
See, the thing is that today, unfortunately, what has happened is we are stuck in an economic paradigm that believes that the quarterly earnings is the benchmark. Stock markets are the second benchmark. And the success of the Bay Area is the third benchmark. Right? These are all have happened in the last 20 years. But if you look at Bay Area itself, if you cumulative of Bay Area, it's a negative IRR. They are called as loss making and we are called as unsustainable. That's nothing. Mathematically, there's no difference, right? But in our sector, still the ecosystem is not developed. If today SELCO is making money, but it's not making as good as the money that typical investors would like, we don't care. But it is not making money because we spend quite a bit of our money creating the ecosystem. That means we are creating the Google as well as the internet together. Google did not pay for the internet, but we are trying to. Our money goes into creation of that internet. So until and unless the youngsters come up with multiple solutions, subsidize the creation of the internet or the ecosystem, you're not going to achieve the false numbers that the IT field has today achieved. So I think we should leave the notion that that's the profit margin that we should get it, because you need to redefine what sustainable profit margin. So I think I would request everybody to go back and look at the profit margins of the street vendor. Again, go back to that. And that I would call it as sustainable profits. But today, everybody talks about sustainable profits to only one part of the stakeholder, that is the shareholders. And which is why the scale is tipping and people are falling. Lehman Brothers, to Kingfishers, to everybody. How many companies actually last more than 50 years? Which is ridiculous. So you scale up, but you fall. Nobody talks about falling. I think we have a chance in India to create social enterprises that will have a lasting impact, create this inclusive country, and become a model for other parts of the developing world.
So there we have utilizing the young generation and the demographic advantage that India today has to the right purpose. So now I would request you to speak a couple of lines about Vision India Foundation and the Policy Bootcamp, which is a 3-week immersive residential program, which will be held from the 21st of June to the 11th of July. So would you mind sharing a little of the details and your views on this entire concept that we have started about?
I think, see, the concept that you are talking about, right? I mean, in the sense that, and especially youngsters like you, if you look at the next 5-10 years, is where you will, I mean, if you look at India as being has the largest population of young generation, which will define the world in many ways. And with India having more than 350 million people without electricity, 400 million people living less than $1 a day, we still have problems that are right from sanitation to water to cleanliness to a lot of the solutions problems have not been solved. There should not be looked at barriers. And younger generation, the ones that are there here today, need to solve. I'm glad that you are actually providing that platform. And one of the critical angles is going to be, today what happens, unfortunately, policy is being defined by the people who actually will not do the implementation. I firmly believe the young generation should be equally responsible and should be involved in the policy making of this country. Because that's what you are going to lead it. You do not want somebody else to do a policy who has no idea about the grassroots level or practical problems. There's a huge generational gap of thinking process of policy, and then say this is how you should be. We will never grow. As a country, we will never grow. What will you do? You will have a bunch of demotivated, frustrated young people. And many of them will leave, go to other countries where opportunities are there. So we have a chance, through this forum that we are doing, the policy forum, I think that's an excellent way of, when I read what you're trying to do also is getting members of parliament. And even if one out of them changes and starts involving the youth, the others will follow. And so your aim should be not to convince everybody, because you'll then get frustrated. Don't do that. If you all together, when you go for the boot camp, learn how policy making is done from the experts who come in, but also try to convince one guy that in his policy making, you get people who are below 30. If you make that one change, you're on the right.
Thank you so much, sir. So the policy bootcamp that we're talking about, it will be hosted in Delhi NCR region from the 21st of June to the 11th of July. It's an immersive 21-day residential program. We at VIF, we want to provide avenues to the youth of today, the brightest young minds of today, to align their careers with nation building. For this, we've engaged with leading parliamentarians, subject experts, and policy experts. We've allowed a platform where these high-impact leaders can come together with the young minds of today. There will be knowledge sharing. Apart from that, there will also be engagement opportunities at the bootcamp. So, Andhra Pradesh government is one of our partners for that. We'll be having 30 opportunities with them. So, these opportunities will be post bootcamp. So, the people who join the bootcamp, first of all, we're looking at policy enthusiasts and young public leaders who are aspiring to be the public leaders and drive this next generation of change that is ushering in. So there will be field visits. There's a comprehensive curriculum that has been designed in partnership with the Indian School of Business, and the engagement opportunities will be post bootcamp. For example, some of our current projects, they're spread across 6 Indian states and are very focus areas like e-governance, legal reforms, rural development, community empowerment. So I guess it's a really good opportunity for the young people to enroll and join us in our endeavor of bringing new change. You can find more about the policy bootcamp at the website, which is visionindiafoundation.com. Thank you everyone for joining us today for the Hangout. I would like to conclude, sir, by requesting you to give a final address to our audience, the young audience, about what are the real opportunities that lie at the behest of India.
The only thing I would say to you guys is stop complaining. Our generation has always complained, and that's why you see many of the solutions not come out. And hopefully your generation is a generation of solution makers, and this is what not only a country like India needs, but this is the world. The roads are not, or water is leaking. Just don't say the water is leaking. Come up with 5 solutions how to stop that leaking process. If each one of you came with 5 solutions for every problem that you see, can you imagine the positive energy in this country and the number of solutions we can actually not only solve our own issues, but Sudan or Brazil or Philippines. And that's what, like for example, the BPO industry, anybody like Vietnam tomorrow has a better manufacturing facility, manufacturers will go there. Philippines has a better English speaking facility, the BPO will go there. But very difficult to take knowledge out of the country and knowledge of solutions. I think that's what I sincerely wish many of you would actually take up and change the world in many ways.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for joining us. We look forward to your attendance in the next edition of BNMA Talks. Thank you. Stay motivated. BNMA.